Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I am Marcus Barr, and today, let's talk about how you can make today better. This is something that I've heard from a couple of different podcasts and some conversations I've been having with some people that with a lot of the stress and trials and tribulations that we are experiencing today, especially considering that this is coming up on another election season for us here in the United States, there is a lot more stress, there's a lot more fear, there's a lot of disconcerting feelings that are taking place. And for many people, myself included, we can just kind of focus on the grim, on the despair, depression, and something that I have been rattling around in my head quite frequently is, how can I make today better? And I think that's a pretty apt topic to have here. And let's see what it looks like for us to make today a better day. Some of this comes to expectations. It's that dreaded E word that comes up a lot in these episodes. And one of the things about our expectations is we set them oftentimes unconsciously, oftentimes without even verbalizing them, and these set us up for whether something is going to be considered a good day or a bad day. With these expectations, oftentimes we set them up non-verbally, they can even be unconscious, and depending on what happens throughout the day determines whether that day is, in the end, considered good or bad. According to my research, there is a concept from James Clear where he talks about continuous improvement, and I have heard a lot of people re-quote or repost what he says, and that is to essentially make today 1% better than yesterday. And the theory behind this, or not even a theory, the hypothesis behind this, is that if you make today 1% better than yesterday and you continue to do that, then you're going to see a marked improvement after a year, where every single day, 1%, 364 days, and you've got an over 300% improvement from where you were before. I don't know a whole lot about this concept. I don't know a whole lot about James Clear himself, yet there is something compelling about this concept of, instead of setting an expectation that today is going to be the most perfect, or say the best day that it could possibly be, and therefore when we fall short of that, we find ourselves in a mode of disappointment, grief, sadness, because life is just unpredictable that way. How can we instead make just today a little better than yesterday? How can we use today to improve our happiness, our joy, our livelihood by as small as 1%? And if you do that enough, you can start to experience a much different outlook on your life, on your goals. This is something that's going to look different for every person. And using myself as an example, because I'm the best example for my own life here, is I have been trying to change what I'm eating these days. In the past, I've mentioned about intuitive eating, trying to work on this very difficult relationship that I have with food. And one of the things that I was challenged is, like you hear from almost everywhere, is you want to get some good vegetables in your meals. And I'm terrible with doing this. In fact, there is a meme that I saw on social media, oh gosh, I think it was over a year ago now, that talks about how, or it doesn't talk about it, it shows the drawer, the vegetable drawer of a fridge, and someone put tape over the vegetable drawer, the actual like word for like vegetables or something, and they wrote vegetable hospice in there. And that has absolutely been me, because I buy vegetables with the best of intention, and then they go into that drawer, they get lost in the fridge, and then they get moldy, and I just toss them out. Not only is this a waste of money, I am also missing out on some valuable nutrients that I can get from said vegetables. And I've been challenged more lately from this doctor that I've been seeing. And it reminded me of some of the things that I heard last fall when I was doing this intuitive eating group. And I still haven't applied some of these concepts that I learned back then. I am not very mindful about what I'm eating. I oftentimes am not really enjoying what I'm eating. I'm just trying to get a quick bite in as I move from one thing to another, and that doesn't make for an overall delightful experience for something that can be incredibly full of delight. Looking at that, how can I make this today better by 1% than yesterday? I actually followed through with some of the advice from the counselor who I worked through the intuitive eating process with. And this was, yesterday, according to the time of this recording, I took all of the condiments from the door in the fridge, and those are now in the drawer in the vegetable crisper, whatever the vegetable drawer is called. The condiments that could fit are now in that drawer, and the vegetables are now in the door of the refrigerator, because as soon as you start adding more things, as I'm trying to cook some meals and I've got some leftovers and all this Tupperware is going in the refrigerator, inevitably the drawer gets covered up. However, as I was challenged, one of the things that we often do search for when we go into the fridge and we're trying to have a meal is we're looking for the condiments, we're looking for the sauces and the dressings and whatever else drinks even, that you keep in the door. So those are now in the drawer, and the vegetables are now where I can see them and I can remember to actually eat them. That's making a 1% improvement in what the previous day was. Now, what today would look like is actually having some of those vegetables. In fact, I think I have either a cob of corn or a crown of broccoli with my name on it when I have lunch when I'm done with these recordings today. That's making today a little better than yesterday. And with the expectations, this is something that I can feasibly do. This is something that is going to, in the end, turn out to make much larger changes just through smaller changes over a longer period of time. And when we're talking about making today better, that can even be, if you're like me, there's always chores that need to be done. Oh gosh, the chores never end. And if that's something that you've been struggling with, maybe some dishes are piling up. Maybe it's been a while since the house or the apartment has been cleaned. Maybe the lawn needs to be mowed. Maybe there's some weeds that need to be pulled. Whatever the chore happens to be, maybe it's even something where you've got some homework that needs to be done. I've got some homework waiting in my inbox that I haven't gotten around to yet. What if you were to just put some of the dishes away? What if you were to just clean some of them? Instead of doing the entire stack. I'm making it sound like we're really irresponsible here. But what if you were just to do some of the dishes so you have some clean dishes for your next meal? What if you were to just focus on vacuuming one room or picking up one room? What if you were to just go do 5 minutes of yard work? Pull some of those weeds. Maybe just go out and just mow the lawn, or just mow the front lawn, or maybe even the back lawn. Doesn't matter. What if you were to just make a small change? And for individuals that are struggling with, say, depression or anxiety, or even just fear in general, I have often heard from a lot of different sources, a lot of different places, that getting into some kind of normal, there's that word again, but getting into some semblance of what you would consider to be normal can actually boost our mental health. I know when, I'm going to throw my partner Libby under the bus here a little bit, she usually has multiple projects that she's working on at the same time. And right now she is working on a frame for a mirror. She is painting a mini for the campaign that we're going through with our friends. And she also wants to work on a painting. A lot of times, she doesn't finish one project before she starts another one. And this leads to some things just starting to pile up, and it starts getting cluttered. This is something that will often take a toll on her mental health. It gets overwhelming having all of this stuff around. And then she gets to the point where it's like, okay, I have to clean some of this stuff up. And she does. And maybe it's even something that she's been just holding off on doing because she just doesn't have the spoons for it. She doesn't have the energy. Maybe she had a really rough day with work and she just feels for a couple hours, maybe some days, that she just can't handle it. She can't handle, or she can't find the time or the energy to take care of some of this clutter. And every single time that this happens and she gets to the point where she just can't take it anymore and she starts cleaning up the paints or the wood, the stain, whatever it is that is causing this clutter, as soon as it's done, it releases so much pressure that she was under. And she feels so much better. Mentally, she feels better from just taking 5-10 minutes to just pick some stuff up and put them away. And that can make your day a little better than it was yesterday. And here's another one that I have heard from so many different sources, so many coaches, so many podcasters, therapists, is the value of just getting out in nature. Now it's time to use my puppy Odin as an example here. There have been times where I have been so frustrated because he's just a puppy and he has energy that he has to get out. And I would take him out in the backyard and we would play chase, we would play fetch, we would do all of these things to try and help him get this energy out. And there were some times where it just seemed like it was taking too long. I have podcasts I need to record. I have calls I need to get on. There's, the chores that need to be done. And everything is just waiting for me inside while I am outside throwing a tennis ball for Odin. And I came to this realization after a while that I had a very wrong mentality around this time that I have with him. Because I was looking at it as I need to get this energy out of him so I can actually get some stuff done. Instead, I can say I get to play with my puppy. I get to spend some time with him. I get to be outside. I get to see him just smile and be happy and prance over to me as he's got the ball in his mouth and he's ready to go again. I can enjoy this time outdoors in the fresh air. Unfortunately, it's getting a little warmer over here, so I'm trying to spend a lot of time in the shade because, me and heat just don't get along very well. Yet, I still get to have this opportunity to be outside in nature, to spend some time in the sun, to enjoy some pets and some play with my adorable dog. And that's something that I can do to make today a little better than it was yesterday. And I can give you a status report on that. When I go out to play instead of go out there to just wear him out, I have a much better time. He has a much better time. We get to just play and I laugh a lot. He gets to enjoy himself until his tongue is just lolling out the side of his mouth because he is so worn out and full of joy from just all of this play and all of this attention. It turns into a much better experience in the end than what I had before. So with all of these examples, I just want to ask you a simple question. What's it going to look like for you to make today a little better than yesterday? Is it something where you do some form of self-care or an activity that you enjoy? I have some people that I work with who can struggle to prioritize doing things that they enjoy because they are having all of these other demands placed on them. I've absolutely been in that position, and yet I also make it a priority to enjoy some things that are genuinely going to be enjoyable for me. Oh man, I have started playing, after talking about this with Libby for months now, there are some LucasArts games back from, I guess, the 90s or something that they are just a ton of fun and they're hilarious. The games that I'm thinking of are the Monkey Island series or franchise, which is one that Libby has absolutely enjoyed, and then I have another one that's Day of the Tentacles that I remember playing growing up, and it's absolutely a riot. And I've been talking with her a lot about, what would be fun is if I were to play the Monkey Island games and you're kind of the expert on that, so you could kind of help me when I get stuck with puzzles, and you could play Day of the Tentacles or Day of the Tentacle, and I could help you when you get stuck with these puzzles, because some of the solutions to these puzzles are just obscure. And I finally started doing that. It was about 2 nights ago. I'd already had these games installed on my laptop and I hadn't played them yet. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to launch one and I'm going to play. And when I was playing last night, there was this one thing that I ran into that just got me laughing so hard. I am sitting on the couch and Libby and Odin are just to my left, and there is so much shenanigans going on in this game, and I have no control over anything. I was wondering, it's like, what should I do with this? But everything was happening automatically, and I just laughed. I've never played this game before, and I'm playing the very first Monkey Island game, and it just had me laughing so hard that in the end, Libby was laughing with me because she got to see my authentic experience to this bizarre game that is just a riot to play. And I went to bed last night feeling so good because I was able to do something fun, and it genuinely caught me off guard and just had me laughing. And I love that. I love to be caught off guard and to just laugh. What if making your day a little better than yesterday is, if you're exhausted and you have the time, what if you were to take a little nap so you have a little more energy to do what needs to be done? Maybe it's sending out that text message or picking up the phone and making a call to someone that you have been meaning to get in touch with. That seems to be me a lot of the time. Maybe it's spending a little extra money to just go have a nice date with someone that you really love. Or what if you were to go just take yourself out for a meal? What if you don't have anyone that you are romantic with? Doesn't mean you can't go out and enjoy a meal yourself. I know a lot of people feel like they have to be dating someone in order to do that. And I have heard stories of individuals where it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to be by myself, but I'm going to go to a restaurant that I like, and I'm going to order something that I like, and it's just going to be a great experience. And they have a great time. What if it's going out to see a movie? At the time of this recording, I believe Inside Out 2 has been out for a week, and I've been hearing some great things about it. It's honestly been on my mind. Maybe Libby and I should go out and see this movie. Apparently it touches on some things that I talk about with clients a lot. So it could be a fun little anecdote to kind of express what's actually going on. And what if you were to just have fun? What if you pick up a book that's been on your shelf for a while and you haven't read? What if you just go for a walk? Even just like 5 or 10 minutes. What if you were to go into your backyard, your front yard, if you were to go to a park, and just take your shoes and your socks off and just feel the grass beneath your feet? I have heard how grounding that experience can be when you just feel the earth under your feet. What if you were to do something a little more spiritual? What if you were to meditate? What if you were to get into a devotion? What if you were to read a sacred text? What if there is some kind of spiritual practice that you've been wanting to get into, but you just haven't? What if you were to take 5-10 minutes just to dip your toes into it? What if you were to spend some time playing with your kids to wrestle? Wow. I usually say wrestle as wrestle when I'm talking with like my nephews and nieces, and even with Odin. I did not realize that was going to come out that way. But what if you were to take time to just wrestle with some kids that you love, like your own kids, your nieces and nephews? What if you were to play a board game? What if you were to learn some card tricks? What if you were to just take some time to research something just for the pure joy of researching? What would making today better than yesterday look like for you? There's so many things that you can do here. There's so many experiences, activities, even just changing some thoughts in your own head that you can do in order to make today better. And that's what I want to challenge you with. That's what I want to challenge you with. I want you to just look at your own life and determine, what is something that I can do? What is one small change that I can make to my life today in order to make it better than yesterday? Nothing grand. It is these small changes over time that become our habits in the future. It's not some big change that we make in one moment that is going to cause us to achieve the goals that we wish to achieve. In fact, I've said on a previous podcast how our brains resist that. So what is that one small change? What can you do to make yourself happier, to make yourself better than yesterday? How can you improve yourself by the smallest margin today? And then tomorrow, you can improve yourself by the smallest margin again. And according to the hypothesis, that is going to lead to large changes down the road. We didn't get where we are today by grand happenstance most of the time. There are those who have something very traumatic in their lives, such as sexual abuse, such as an aggressive predator or even family member that causes physical or mental harm. Those things can have a drastic impact on us in the moment. And they can create some thoughts and behaviors that will just become a part of our lives for years to come. And yet, there are also a lot of things that are impacting us today that were just little decisions that we made along the way over years. And that's one of the things that I talk with my clients about a lot. You didn't get where you are because of one instance where something bad happened, and now that has had a negative impact on the rest of your life. A lot of times, it was a lot of little things that took place over a long period of time, and it's kind of like that analogy of, I don't know how true this is, but the analogy of if you put a frog in boiling water, it will die. But if you put a frog in tepid water and you slowly raise the temperature of the water degree by degree, then the frog can be in boiling water and can actually survive. Again, I don't know if that's actually true. That's an analogy that I hear a lot. And yet, what's happened in your life that has increased the temperature of your environment 1 degree at a time over a long period of time, and now you're effectively in a pot of boiling water and don't even realize it? We want to start making changes in the opposite direction. How can you make those small changes over time so your brain doesn't automatically say, nope, we're not doing this because this is not what is our normal. This is not what we have been programmed for all of this time. We're going to go back to what's worked, even if it's something that's causing us harm. Because our brains will return to what is normal, to what is conditioned, even if the prospect of change is an improvement towards our betterment. Because our brains are like, well, this is comfortable, so I want to stay where it's comfortable. How can you change yourself for the better to make just a small, uncomfortable change to your brain to where it doesn't realize you're making that change? And then after a while, your brain is like, oh, this is how we've always done it. Try it out. See how it works. There is something new that I am trying, and that is on my website, and there is a link in the description where you can fill out a form in order to send me a question if there's something that you are interested in hearing about. If you would like to pose a question or a scenario that can be discussed in this forum. Again, I want this to be a safe place for us to talk about whatever is on your heart and your mind. Take a look in the description if you're interested. Submit a question, and I can, and likely will, even just answer it in a future podcast. If you are interested in working with me, there are links in the description where you can schedule a free 50-minute one-on-one call to just start a conversation, see if we'd be a good fit for each other. If you like what you're hearing here, then subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you have taken away from this. Let me know if there's anything that you want to push back against. Let's have a civil conversation in the comments. And I'm looking forward to talking with you again next time. And until then, live strong for today.